Well, hello, Liberty listeners. Welcome to another episode of Liberty Road. Today, you guys are in for an alcoholic treat, shall I say. We've got Kat Hantas, and she's going to talk to us about the incredible brand journey that she went on with 21 Seeds, how she went from film to developing this tequila brand that we all know and love. And I'm excited for you guys to get to know her. Kat, welcome to the show.
Hey, Netta, it's good to be here.
Thanks for chilling with us. So just for a little context for our audience, you and I met at a women's entrepreneurial event in Santa Monica. You were on the panel, and one of the things that struck me while we were talking all things entrepreneurship, you went deep into the age doesn't matter. We should be leaning in at this time with our age and our experience and our connections. And this is very much why I built Liberty Road. So I'm so glad to have you on the show, and also to talk about your own kind of pivot story and how you went from one thing to another and made, as we all know, 21 Seeds such a success. But first, for those one or two people that don't know what 21 Seeds is, tell us that story. How did you get into tequila, and why 21 Seeds? Tell us that story.
Absolutely. So yes, I mean, the reason I actually started 21 Seeds really was also born out of just getting older. And I was a wine drinker. I drank a couple glasses of wine nightly. And then when I turned 35, like right around that age, I would have those same 2 glasses of wine at the end of my night. And they would affect me completely differently. Like I'd go to bed that night, I'd have sweats. I see you nodding because it's so
real.
common.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real, right? It's like, and it's much younger than people think. Your body really starts to change. You metabolize things in different ways. There's a lot of organic living material in wine. I found this out later on as I started to dig into it. That just doesn't exist when you move over to a distilled spirit, like tequila is a distilled spirit. And those living organisms in the wine interact with your body. And as we get older, your mitochondria is not working the way it used to and all of that. It's just like gets harder to metabolize it. So again, I'd go to bed that night, just 2 glasses of wine. And I felt like I'd been partying all night. I wouldn't sleep well. I'd have sweats, wake up not rested in the morning. So I started to really dig into it. And I actually even went to my doctor. And this is me personally, went to the doctor. I was like, is this menopause? Like, is this early menopause? And he's like, no, it's, we tested everything. He's like, what are you eating and drinking? And he's like, oh, there it is, the culprit, the wine. He's like, why don't you just switch to stop drinking wine, actually, is what he said. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to drink instead? And he's like, I think he's like, drink Blanco tequila. And that to me was like, whoa, that's aggressive. You know? On a Tuesday night, I'm going to switch from my wine. And I love the ritual of holding a wine glass to like a Blanco tequila, not even an aged one. Because when you age, another little interesting fact, aged tequila, which is thought of as like, say, more premium, actually is even harder for you to metabolize than Blanco tequila, because the barrels that it sits in order to age, have chemicals and things that are trapped in them that also leach into the liquid. So if you're trying to drink cleaner, which so many people, that's such a hot subject right now, is really drinking cleaner, no additives, all that kind of stuff. You're better off going with the Blanco tequila than an aged one. The problem is Blanco's so harsh, right? It's like, it's not easy to drink that. It's almost like, battery acid. And so you're just like, and that's what I felt when he said that to me. I was like, whoa, what am I can't drink Blanco tequila for the rest of my life. Like that sounds awful. So I went home, I stopped drinking the wine, and immediately noticed a huge difference in all areas, like how I was sleeping. I wasn't having the sweats anymore. And so I thought, all right, I got to cut out the wine. What am I going to do to this Blanco tequila to make it as easy to drink as a glass of wine and as delicious, right? Like I wanted to
the whole point is you're winding down. You're trying to enjoy something, right? It's not like you're just trying to get mainline alcohol. It's like you're wanting to enjoy the experience. Yeah.
That's exactly it. I wanted to relax and unwind and even drink it like, in a wine glass, which I still do to this day. I'll drink it as a spritz, and one shot of 21 seeds, which is our infused tequila, is 59 calories. I like to say it's at half the calories of a glass of wine. I do one shot, fill it with club soda, a beautiful huge slice of orange, which my little trick is I swab the inside of the glass
there you go.
with an orange. And it really imparts so much flavor, no extra calories. And I can have 2 of those. That's 120 calories, which is the equivalent of 1 glass of wine. So that's
without all the side effects.
Without all the side effects.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing. I started infusing tequila at home for myself, just for my own consumption as this alternative to wine. And I did that for 8 years. That's what I would do at my house.
This is before 21 seeds. This is just you mixing a cocktail. Oh, wow.
Exactly. A lot of people think, 21 seeds, because it was, we launched 21 seeds in 2019, and 3 years later, it was not even a year and a half later, we were the #1 flavored tequila in the country. And then 3 years later, we sold the company for, what was a great outcome, a successful outcome to Diageo. But I had been infusing tequila at home for myself and my friends for 8 years before I even thought to turn it into a business. Because I still had, small kids at home, and I was at home raising them. And so I didn't have, it was sort of twofold. One, I wasn't really ready to go back to work yet. And number 2, even if I was ready to go back to work, I'd never started
this wasn't
a beverage brand, a spirits brand. This was not my world at all. It wasn't what I had done before.
Can we just talk about that before? Yeah. What you did before was film, right? You'd come from the film world. So this is a huge departure.
Huge.
What did the film world bring to your entrepreneurial spirits world? What did it teach you? What did you learn from it? What did you take into this next venture?
So, I was an independent producer. I started off at an agency, then a management company, but then ultimately I went off and independently produced. So I've always had sort of the bug to kind of be my own boss. I don't really take orders very well. And so I'm not a great employee. I'm much better, and for good or bad, right?
Yeah.
But I would say the biggest thing, so I've always had that yearning to do it myself with others, not just solely alone. You can't make a movie alone. I was a producer, and you have hundreds of people working on a film.
Sure.
But the thing that I excel at, my superpower, is storytelling. And, building a brand is really just telling us a great story.
100%.
Right. And really thinking through who are your characters and who's the main character? And then I would apply that to I just brought those same things. Who is our customer? I looked at our customer as our main character. Right. And so when I even thought about how to approach finding her, who, we made this tequila for our girlies out there, and especially our moms. And so I really spent so much time thinking about who she was, what are her pain points, how are we solving them, how is she discovering this brand? I wanted to make her life easier, not harder. That was the whole ethos of this brand, is to relax and unwind with your girlfriends, right? So that is all about fun first, and not making things complicated, not making things hard. So even everything from every one of the recipes that every cocktail recipe that we ever put out, whether it was social media or on Pinterest or on our website, always thinking back to make it easy. No one's got ounces and wants to do math, make it simple. It's
no math.
You know what I mean? No one wants to do math at you want to relax and unwind. That's the last thing you want to do. And you don't want all these, needlessly complicated cocktails that have tons of ingredients that really don't really add anything to the cocktail, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Simple is always better, I think, in really almost all cases.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to beat a great French baguette. Yeah. Right? And that's as basic as it gets.
It's true. And the things that you probably were doing were what you just, the little hack you gave us at the beginning was just take that orange and the oil from the skin or the sweetness from the actual pulp. Like that's all you need. That's all you need.
That's all you need. And that's really, and so we always stayed true to our main character, which was our girl. You always talked about it in that way. And then the other thing was, we sort of personified the tequila. For us, we always talked about the tequila like she's that best friend in your friend group, where you know the one that's like just like the Julie McCoy for those of us who know the reference, because this is Liberty, right?
Yes, so that's right.
Liberty Road knows this reference.
We know.
It's like the Julie McCoy of your crew, right? Where it's sort of like she's the fun, like planner, like does all the, if she can't go on the girls' weekend, like you change the date,
Totally.
And that's how we thought about 21 Seeds. That's how she would show up. And we would always say, if it didn't sound like something you would authentically say to your girlfriend, then don't say it. Like that's the bar for us in terms of how we show up on social and all that kind of stuff. And our entire playbook, was predicated on serving her. And that made it really easy for us because it made it super clear on, again, how to market to her, where to find her, things to say yes to, and equally as important, things to say no to.
Yeah.
Right. Like if it didn't serve her, we passed. I mean, you're starting, at the end of the day, 21 Seeds, while we, again, created it for her, the minute a guy tastes 21 Seeds, it's like, I'm
in.
over.
Yeah.
I'm in, right? Like, why you don't want to you drink something that's way smoother than regular tequila, still is tequila, still tastes amazing, and has fewer calories. Like, of course you're in.
Yeah. I love that you guys, and it sounds like you predominantly really understood not just the storytelling from who is our demographic, but you had it distilled down to, no pun intended, but distilled down to an avatar. Like, this is who she is. This is who we're talking to. This is where she goes. This is what she wants or needs and doesn't even know that she wants because it's not out there. You guys created it. Where did the 21 Seeds name come from?
So I started the company with my sister and my girlfriend, and all of us were roughly the same age. My sister and Sarika, my sister is Nicole, and Sarika is our other co-founder, our friend. So that's where it came from. So it's two sisters, one friend. So it's 2-1. And then Seeds, everything that goes in it is, comes from the ground, grows from the seed. So we purposely, did it. This is not traditional tequila. So we weren't trying to make it a traditional tequila name. We were very thoughtful about that. And we wanted the bottle to look, nice, really beautiful, like almost like a perfume bottle and be something that you would want to give as a gift. Because again, like women love to give gifts and we're the ones usually responsible for giving the gift, whether it's a teacher's gift or a birthday present or how, you go to someone's house for dinner and you bring a bottle of wine. And our hope was that you would bring a bottle of 21 Seeds tequila instead. So, and that's what we would put out there. That's what we kind of, that we showed.
So thank you for that background because it really helps the listener to understand, like, okay, as I think about what I might want to do next, let me look at what Kat did, which is she took her background and she actually, it wasn't just a pivot, right? It was she utilized what she knew and what she learned and what she was good at and brought it into this next iteration of whatever she was doing. We know that you were making this cocktail for 8 years. What led you to believe, besides my guess is a lot of friends saying you should bottle this, to believe that you could do it? Because this is a really crowded space. Like most people are like,
it was.
Yikes, stay away.
Yeah, it was super crowded. There were a couple of factors. So again, like you just nailed it, Netta, like your friends, like, and actually this was also one of our real, tests, not pivot points, but like inflection points where we were like, when we finally launched, it's those first 1,000 bottles, you're going to sell 1,000 bottles, because it's like your friends, their friends, like, but really it's once you go beyond that sphere of influence that you have and like random people are starting to buy the tequila and like you're hearing about 21 Seeds from, people like Jessica Alba or Katie Couric or, like people who we had no connection to, like weren't involved with, like finding the tequila through, the person that found it and gave it to that person and that person. But so that to me is like the sign of a real business. And so and you have to be really honest with yourself about that. Like you can sell yourself anything, a lot of times you're talking in an echo chamber, but like that was my test of whether or not this was like a real company. But to answer your initial question, there were a few things that really made me say, hey, I actually think that there's a white space here. Mm-hmm. The first one was at the time, it was a very crowded space, right? George Clooney had come out with Casamigos. Mm-hmm. At that point, it had already sold to Diageo. So it was like a huge outcome, and tons of people, every celebrity it seemed like was rushing to start a tequila brand.
Yeah.
But really, tequila was being marketed in two ways. One was either shots, like woo, up on the table shots. The other, the new sort of innovation was sipping tequila, sort of this high end. And that's what this was. It was super premium and ultra premium, high end tequila. And all of those two things, right? And the super premium, the new stuff that was coming on the market was really all being marketed like scotches and whiskeys to men.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as a sipping tequila. Like you sip it as a treat.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. So that was my first observation, is those are the two. And I really think of 21 Seeds as the first drinking tequila. Like it's a tequila that is so drinkable that you can drink it every night, like instead of a glass of wine, and literally do that, like drink it as a spritz in this easy form. You can also make it into a margarita or spicy margarita. We make amazing Palomas, margaritas, spicy margaritas, but like you could just drink it as a spritz every night instead of just sipping it or shots. Shots is like a party experience. Sipping is like a treat experience.
Right.
I was like, I'm drinking this. This is a drinking tequila. And there was nobody talking about that. And I know it doesn't sound like a big, like, whoa, that sounds like an amazingly huge opportunity. But actually within this industry, within the spirits industry, that's a big deal, because the way that sort of you bring products to market within spirits is like, you think, okay, what is the occasion in which someone would drink it, right? What's the occasion? And what is the serve? Like for us, it was super easy. It was like the wine occasion, the relaxed and unwind occasion.
I was going to say, you knew what you were replacing. Yeah.
And the serve is the spritz. So it was like so clear. And if you can say, there's very few brands that can say that. It's very, very hard to say that. So we were able to say that. And then the next thing that I noticed, so that was like in terms of the serve. And then the second thing was this consumer. Yeah. No one was talking to this consumer. Even though there was a lot of noise in the tequila aisle, no one was actually talking to her in the aisle. And the thing that made me sort of cue into that was I'd be out at bars and restaurants. This was 2019, so it was right before the pandemic. And I would notice that at the bar, it wasn't guys that were ordering tequila in like, oh, give me, tequila on the rocks. Like no one was really doing that. Like it was a lot of girls that were ordering, hey, can I have a tequila soda, splash of juice? Can I have a tequila soda, 3 limes?
100%. Yes. Most of my girlfriends. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of women were making that switch, from wine and champagne to tequila for the same reason I had made the switch from wine to tequila.
Yeah.
And they didn't like the way it tasted on its own. It was too harsh. And they didn't want it sweet. That's the other big misconception in the spirits industry, is that just because women don't like harsh, which I would argue most people don't like harsh.
Yeah.
Very few. You get used to harsh eventually, I suppose. But like, we want it smooth. We don't want it sweet. We want it smooth and balanced. So I noticed that all these girls were ordering it in this way. And I thought, I would say one night I was at a bar and I counted like 8 of the 10 people that ordered tequila were women and ordering it in this exact serve. And so it was really those things. And then with that, kind of armed with that, I went to my sister and I was like, hey, sister, do you want to start a tequila company with me?
And what did she do? What was her,
she was a mom. So she was a hyphenate. She was a mom, first of all, of 2 small kids. She was a CFO. She was the CFO of AngelList, which is a, multi-billion-dollar company. So she had a huge job. And she probably had no business at all starting a tequila brand company, because her plate was full. But, that's the thing is, I think back to, the whole purpose of your podcast and your company. It's like women are capable of doing so much, and we're amazing multitaskers, And in some ways it's almost like you're actually probably more motivated, and it's like you understand the pace when you're multitasking that much, that to add another thing in, it's like much probably easier than if you're starting from scratch to start something totally new, where you're not like doing a number of things at once.
And also you guys were together. I mean, I think that's an important piece of it. Like you were taking her skill set. She was utilizing your skill set. You brought in a third person that you guys had figured out in your busy life as moms and multi-hyphenates, that there was a way that you could collectively do this, which I think is a really important takeaway.
And I would say, Netta, the last piece of it is like, I highly encourage people, if you're looking to start a business, to have partners, because it's very, very lonely to be a single founder. I mean, after a while, like your immediate household gets tired of hearing about it. Your friends get tired of, get tired of hearing about it.
If they were here, they'd be amening all over the place. But
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so you need to be able to like lean on your founders. Like I can't tell you, we went through a lot in those 3 years. We went through a ton, as 3 moms. And because we were moms, we all had it in common. It was like fully understood that somebody would go do this, you grab that, and just to have somebody to be able to talk to that's in it with you, that cares about it as much as you do. Like, I don't know how you do it. I have so much, I'm like in awe of single founders. Like, it's just like, I mean, honestly, it's like, I don't know. I just highly recommend you have co-founders.
Yeah. And I think the caveat there is, this is my coming from being a consultant for years, make sure that those people are people that bring something unique to the table. Totally. And that there's a level of not just trust, but respect for one another. That's where I see things breaking, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think that's what allowed us to run so quickly is, like you said, find co-founders who actually hate doing what you like to do. Like that's the level of like different lanes, I would say, like completely different skill sets. Like a funny story, I was the CEO of the company. I didn't even have access to the bank account. Like I never saw a P&L, none of it. Like I would just say to Nicole, I mean, I'm very lucky because I trust my sister so much.
Sure.
And she's so good at her job. But I would just call her and be like, are we good? And if she was like, yes, we're good, then that allowed me to focus on marketing and sales and creating the content and the cocktail recipes and all of that. And then Sarika, she had her whole other lane, which was supply chain and bringing this market not only to fruition, but across the border and like dealing with the transportation and customs and all of that stuff. And so it was like, and she loved that. And she was so good at it. And to your point about respect, like we had such mad respect for each other that we just didn't really second guess each other. It was more like huddling. Okay, let's debate on something. And then everyone goes.
And the debate is part of it. I mean, the debate and the ability to disagree and it's all of that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's good for the business, just like it's good for a relationship, right? It makes you better.
Absolutely.
But it's at the end of the day, being able to say, we respect each other and somebody's decision is going to win in this particular instance. And we're good with that. We need to move on. So the 3 of you are together. You guys have kind of identified your sweet spots and the secret sauce you each have. What's the very first thing you do? You've gathered these people. Do you like, so now what? Now I grow agave in my backyard? Like what now?
If I were to show you some of the early things we thought we would have to learn and understand, like how many agave plants do you farm, like plant in an acre and like, but that's not how it works at all.
Yeah.
The very first thing that we did was just talk to everyone that we could talk to that was in any way connected to the spirits industry. So whether it was a retailer or an owner of a bar or restaurant or an actual other spirits maker, anybody or someone who provided insurance for the spirits industry. Like it didn't matter. Like anyone who knew someone, we took a meeting. And I can't stress that enough. Like take those meetings, even the ones that just seem like you think you're not going to get anything out of them. I mean, there were a couple there, one in particular where the guy was like trying to convince us not to do it for sure. But in that conversation, he let us in on this little factoid that we had to make sure that we registered our company in Mexico as well. And we didn't realize that. And our lawyer hadn't said that to us. And that would have like set us back. I mean, it would completely have changed the trajectory of our company had we not had that conversation to be like, oh, wait a minute, do we need to do that? And then we asked our lawyer, and sure enough, it's like, yeah, the lawyer assumed we knew that. So it was like, I can't tell you, like,
wow,
talk to everyone. And then the other thing we did was we hired a lawyer, which, you know, even though I just said that part where he missed this one bit, he gave us so much invaluable information, right? This is a highly regulated industry. It's a three-tier system. We knew nothing about how do you make tequila? Where do you make tequila? Does it need to come from Mexico? Which we found out that it did. And so the lawyer really, there are booze attorneys, right? The specialized in spirits. So we hired one of those. And listen, they're very expensive, but they're worth every penny. And so what we did was we first talked to everyone before we talked to the spirits attorney so that we could gather up all of our questions. And then we were like, okay, guys, don't make these
We're
people.
on the clock,
he's not our friend. Yeah. We're not doing any chit chat because, you know, you get 3 girls in a room. It's like, no chit chat. We're not trying to make him like us, make him be our friend.
Right.
We have all these questions. We had them written out and we just fired through the questions and, you know, got it all under a certain time so that we didn't have to spend too much money on that first step to then go off and do more research. Right. So it was a lot of that. But that's actually really fun. And I think that's the piece that I think that I actually, in terms of startups, that is my favorite part of it. Yeah. So, you know, at the end of the day, we measure ourselves by how did it end up, right? Like what was the outcome? And I, by the way, just spoiler alert, after 21 Seeds started, you know, have been working on another project.
We talked about it briefly. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, spent the last 18 months working on that project, going deep in the weeds, understanding a whole new industry, spending all my time, energy, effort into it in this new venture, raised the money, and in the end decided not to do it and gave the money back. Yeah. You know, but it didn't matter because I had just as much fun doing this second venture as I did with 21 Seeds, you know, very different outcomes. But it's like, I think that's the thing I'm now 52 years old. Like, that's the thing for me is I am a very curious person. I think that's what distinguishes us from the animals, right? Is that we have these frontal lobes, these amazing brains, and we need to feed them. And that's what makes you feel alive. And, you know, I think we always measure ourselves by outcome. And it's a waste of time if it didn't turn out to be what you had hoped. And for me, it's like, I have such a different perspective. I've had many failures. You know, I would argue 21 Seeds was my only success. You know, my other startups didn't work, you know? So, but with each one of them, I look back on my life and I enjoyed every single thing that I did, whether it worked out or didn't work out, you know, just waking up, experiencing the experiences that, you know, I had while I was trying to make those things happen. That's what it's all about. You know, that is truly, truly what it's all about.
Yeah. Money is a bottom line. It is not the only bottom line. And I think how we feed our curiosity, our healthy ambition. I did an interview with the woman who wrote The Ambition Trap. It's just right here.
Oh, nice.
And she does a great job of talking about ambition like money is neutral. It's what we do with it that can be the problem. And you just described that, like your sort of tenacity and interest and curiosity for doing all of these things is what served you. That was a bottom line for you, for Kat, right? That fed her soul and will continue to. And I loved so much, and thank you for being so transparent about, like, I've done lots of things that didn't work and this thing worked. That thing that worked is getting you on all these stages and in all these podcasts and all these opportunities to talk to other people, to share that story so that they can too try new things and try and access whatever is of interest to them, whatever gives them purpose, whatever gives them enjoyment. Like, this all doesn't even have to end up being like the one thing that your whole life hinges on, right? It can be, this is how I have fun. This is how I engage with other people. This is how I bring what's in my brain and what's in other people's brains. And we collectively create this other thing that's bigger than the three of us in the case of 21 Seeds. What is the message that as an entrepreneur who's being looked at as a success story, what is the message that you want women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to hear? What did you learn about yourself that you want to impart to these people?
That it's not, your time's not up. Like you have you still, I think the thing is we want to engage our brains in critical thinking, right? I think that's such a big piece of it. And I think we also want community.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think that's the other piece of it for me. Like, the thing I probably miss the most about 21 Seeds when we were like humming and really, really building this thing together is like sharing those wins with the whole team, right? Like, it was like we were all building this thing together. And it's like, it really goes back to like when we all played sports in high school and college, and you miss that. And we're always trying to get back to that. So, I would say, number one, like, it's not too late, and it doesn't need to be a massive outcome, right? Like, there's ways to get engaged in things. And by the way, like, people are always looking for help. I will say this, people are always looking for help. The ones that, if you really want to do something though, you have to be tenacious, right? Like, you have to keep bothering that person. People have day jobs. Everyone's got a day job. Everyone's got a million things pulling them in a million directions. If you really want to engage and like get back into the workforce or do it in some way, you literally can cold call a company. And I'll give you guys the perfect example. Our head of sales, right? Our head of sales, this woman, Mel, she was incredible. She's like, literally, she was the most expensive person. We couldn't afford her, right? And the way that she reached out to me was through a cold call. She cold called me. And the backstory there is that she had seen us on the Today Show.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were on the Today Show, his big exciting moment of 21 Seeds. The way, by the way, that we'd gotten on the Today Show was because Katie Couric had discovered the brand. It was her favorite thing that she tasted. She'd done this interview. What was your favorite find from the Hamptons in all of 2019 from that summer? And she said, 21 Seeds. It's delicious. She loved the cucumber jalapeno one. And
that's the one I have, by the way.
I know it's our number one seller. It's our best seller, guys. So when you find it, grab it. But anyway, so she wrote about us. She reached out to us and had us on her newsletter. We were in her holiday gift guide. She really was obsessed with the brand and did so much for us. It was unbelievable. Katie Couric has done so much for our brand. And then the Today Show, she was on the Today Show. So they saw her write about us. So they reached out to us. So it was all these like points of connection, just random. And that's always how it works. We end up on the Today Show. Mel is watching us on the Today Show. She is, at this point, she's probably in her mid-50s.
Yeah.
She was the president of a company, and she got booted from this company. And she was trying to figure out, like mid-50s at this point, maybe even older, okay? Trying to figure out what the heck she's going to do with her life, right?
Because nobody wants to hire, let's be honest, nobody wants to hire a 50-some-year-old in that world. Like, we all know the value, but
No. So what's she going to do with her life? 50s, literally somewhere between 55 and 60 years old. What's she going to do with her life? She sees us on the Today Show. She's like, that's going to be a hit. She's like, that is going to be a hit. A tequila that drinks as easy as a glass of wine, half the calories, that's a hit. So she cold calls me, reaches out to me. she starts talking to me. I'm like, how, at this point, we're so young, you're taking every call still,
Sure.
I'm on the phone with her for 20 minutes. I'm like, you were the president of a company.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need a president. We need like, if somebody's going to go door to door and knock on like, retail stores and like in California, like this is so below you, She's like, no, I want to work with you guys. You guys are going to be stars. This is going to be a hit company. I want to work with you. We get off the phone. I call my sister. I was like, I don't know. I just had this interesting conversation with this woman. She's like a real go-getter. Like, I don't know. But Nicole and my sister, the CFO, we don't need a president. What are you talking about? Like, enough. Get back to work, I'm like, okay. She calls me again. A week later, she calls me again. We have another 20-minute conversation. Delightful. Like such a great salesperson. Like I'm on the phone with her. I'm like, I don't know. I hang up the phone. I'm like, I don't know, sister. Like maybe we could find a role for her. Like I think she's willing to do something other than being a president. She just really believes in us. And like, there's something about her. And my sister's like, you need to hire a CMO. Like she's like, oh, we need a salesperson or we need a CMO, right? Like these are either your two tasks.
Yes.
Stay focused. And I'm just like, okay. She calls me again, right? She calls me again. After the third time, I called my sister and I was like, sister, I don't know. She's either the best salesperson in the world
which is meaningful to us. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm a pretty good salesperson. So that's something if I'm saying that, or maybe you're right. And she's nuts. Like there's something going on here. Like, I don't know, right? Could be one or the other. But there's something about her. She's so persistent. And like, I enjoy every conversation that I have with her.
I was going to say, you've enjoyed her persistence. Like you can imagine her on the other end where people are saying no. And you're like, she's delightful. The no hasn't 100%. Impacted her at all.
Exactly. And I said, okay, you know what? And so Nicole says to me, my sister, she's like, this is the money you have. You have this much money to hire 2 people. If you want to spend that money on Mel, that's on you.
Right.
And I was like, I'm spending it on Mel.
I'm going to take a chance.
Like, we hired Mel. And when I tell you, she started off kind of doing anything. Like she literally did start with the little sales. Like she knew what she was up to. She was like, I'll start doing these little sales regionally here. But what I want to be doing is running national sales for you guys. And I believe in this company. And this is what I want to do with myself. And she very quickly got to that. And she was an integral part of our team. She was the most, we paid her the most. She made the most salary of anyone on our team. And in the end, so much of our success is because of her.
Wow.
And like, that's a perfect example of like, you can get involved. You don't have to start the company. Like she was, again, in her late 50s and she saw what she wanted on television, a brand. And she reached out and she was persistent. She was never annoying. She was always like thoughtful, kind, like always left the conversation. I always felt great at the end of the conversation. And she was so good what she would. But she was persistent.
She was giving you the opportunity to be an asset for you. Like she wasn't just saying, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I'm good at. She was like, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is how I'm going to help you. So it was the persistence, but really being deft at understanding what your needs were and how she could be an asset for you.
Exactly. And we all have, skills that we just need to convey, but you can convey them. You just have to be proactive. And again, don't just reach out once and then you think it's over. You have to be persistent and then it works. And then you can go work it. I mean, there's so many people that not only, even if they don't need the help, they want good people that understand
100%. Yes.
The rules of engagement and how you play this game. If you can prove that you are an asset, people will find a space for you. So it's like, identify the company that you want to go work at or the field and just start reaching out.
Yeah.
And you got to check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
And just be humble and be kind and funny. Funny's amazing, right? Like
amazing.
Humor will get you everywhere.
Yes.
And now with ChatGPT, it's like, you can like, give me 10 jokes, give me 10 cold openers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like dealing with somebody in the space, like we have so many tools at our disposal right now, it's bananas, and use them.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is really key for us to hear, that check your ego at the door. And just because you're X amount of age and have done X, X, and X doesn't mean you're going to be hired at that level. Sometimes, I mean, although it worked out for Mel, sometimes it's just, especially if you're doing something new.
Well, listen, she was a president, and she went from being a president to a salesperson.
That's true.
And then moved up to national accounts, but that's not even like, she wasn't even a president role again. It wasn't even like she was, I can't remember the exact, I think she was, anyway, the point being is like, she wanted to be part of this.
That's what I was going to say. What she saw was, I want to ride that coattail. That's going to be a success. I know a lot about this industry. I can help to support that to become a success, which in the end was a success for her as well.
Yep.
How do you think your age informed the way you, your sister, and your third partner moved forward? And maybe I'll just focus on you. How do you think that was an asset or a benefit to you?
Yeah. I would say the biggest factor is patience, right? Like, I think the youth lacks patience.
Yeah.
and sort of realizing, like, it's not uncommon to think you have to pay your dues and success isn't going to happen overnight. Like, that was not, our success happened very quickly.
Very quickly.
But that's not what we expected to happen. We did not expect that. And so we didn't get like antsy, or, we had a playbook and we stuck to the playbook. And I think that comes with age and experience and realizing that you got to stay the course, and not like be just trying all these things, because especially in an industry like tequila that was so popular and continues to be so popular, everybody wants tequila, right? Like, so you're getting inbounds from all over the place. And, this is also true for like a lot of product, right? As people start other businesses, right? Whether you're starting a beverage business or a skincare line or, a clothing line or bag, samples are expensive.
Yeah.
All of those things, they don't equal an ROI that, when you start to really look at it, you're like, that is a waste of money, a waste of time. It's a distraction. So I think that, having been older, having had experience, not only, within my other startups, but like with the film industry, with Rentals Online, which was an early internet company that, we tried to do that failed. Having worked as a waitress, having worked, for people in a company, like all of that experience, that's like the biggest asset that you have going back into industry, later on in life, right? Like, you have all of that. It's just like being a woman. Like, for us, we have this competitive advantage. If you're making something that you want to be consumed by women, which we did, we have different palates. Like, our taste buds are different than men's. So that's like a competitive advantage that we have, period, full stop. So, we took advantage of that. And most people don't even think about that. And so like the obvious thing to me is, with age is wisdom and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you're bringing all of that to the table, when you go back to work, or just in any endeavor that you, undertake at this age. You have that, and the young kids don't, period, full stop. They don't.
Yeah. And it seems like, from what you said earlier, you and your other two partners really understood what you brought to the table. And and that's enough. Bringing who you are is enough. You don't have to be and. You can be like, well, this is where my genius begins and ends, and somebody else is going to take over. And sometimes when you're younger, that's a little bit tougher to do, right? It can be, you want to have, you might think more of yourself, perhaps, but we'll say that.
Totally. And you don't have the ego either, is the other thing, right? Where you're okay not knowing the answer. Oftentimes I find like, people they need to say something, and it's okay. Like, when you get older, you're just like, I don't know the answer, but I know where I can find the answer. And I'm going to go find it and come back,
Yes. I have found that to be the case with myself. Like, I find myself much more comfortable. Like, I don't know. That's a really good point. Let me go figure it out.
Let me go figure that out. Good question.
And you have the experience to know that you can go figure it out. So maybe it's a little bit easier to say, I don't know, because that was never your secret sauce, was knowing. The secret sauce was knowing how to figure it out.
That's right.
So this is our favorite question to ask at the end. And I'm really curious, as you sold the company, you're maybe even looking to what's next for you. What is it that 21 Seeds and that journey of launching, of growing, and of selling it, what did that do to liberate you, the woman?
Well, I think that for as a woman, right, especially in that industry, right, it's very male dominated. And again, going back to a lot of people in the spirits industry, which again is a male dominated industry, they really believe like they know what women want to drink, right? Like they A, know what they want. B, they don't really speak to women, right? Like they speak to the whole group. Like for us, that was a big point of contention. We were so focused on our consumer, which was her. And I can't tell you how many meetings we were in where they were like, well, you're going to ignore the other 50% of the population. Right. Like you're just going to ignore the men. And we were like, no, we're not. We're just not speaking to them right now. We're not. It's not that we're ignoring them. Like,
which, by the way, no one ever said about whiskey or anything else. Like,
the reverse they never said, but they really felt like that it wasn't going to work. Like that wouldn't work. That playbook wouldn't work. And I think that what I've learned is that you just got to get in there. Like you can't convince them. There's no convincing someone something that they don't want to be convinced about. You just got to get in there, do it, and then be like, see, we told you so. Like you can do it. Like it's almost like you got to have the success and then point to the success. And then that's what opens the door for new perspective versus just talking about it. You got to just kind of like roll up your sleeves, get in there, do it, show that it can be successful. When you're really trying to change sort of stereotypes in an industry, it's hard to do that through words, just even conversation. Like you have to show them that it can be done a different way. And then once you do that, they're more open-minded for the next time that the next girl comes along and says, hey, I want to do a champagne that's just focused on women, or I want to do a whiskey that's just for girls, So I think that's what we did. That's one of the things I'm most proud of is that we've now at least made it a little bit easier for the next one,
Easier for the next one. And I think you've provided somewhat of a blueprint for other women to get into the spirit space and say, not just that we want to get into it because there's opportunity, but we want to get into it to serve ourselves and our people and our demographic and our girls. And
totally.
So thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you for doing that work and opening those doors, and then also creating something where you're passing the baton back, because I think that's really important. And we can't wait to see what you do next, by the way. I'm really curious. So we'll stay tuned. We'll have another podcast.
Yeah,
we'll have another podcast.
Definitely.
Thank you, Kat. Thanks for coming on the show and hanging out with us. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely, Netta. It was a really good time. It was fun. It's always fun to revisit these stories.
Yes, I bet. And Liberty listeners, thank you guys for hanging out with Kat and with me. Go out and get 21 Seeds. And we will talk to you guys next time. Bye for now.